Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
Just ahead of Ray Ferraro, our title sponsors, Able Auctions and King of Floors. All of our guests today on Wednesday, sponsored by the O's marketing team at Royal LePage, the go-to source for all your Central Vancouver Island real estate needs. Find out more at wearerealestate.com as we bring in Ray Ferraro. Ray, thanks for doing this. How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys?
Good. Very well. Before we get to Daniel and Henrik, I think I have an idea.
What's going on with them?
Well,
Nothing.
There's something going on right now.
Yes.
I know how your household works. I'd imagine there's some Euro vision or watching going on right now. Not Eurovision.
Yeah, Reese is Reese is 11, and you can ask Reese almost anything about the world of football, and he will tell you. He tells you the transfers. He asked us the other day. We're sitting there, and he says to Cammie and I, "Who do you think's the best midfielder in the world under 27?"
Wow.
We're like, what? I don't know. I don't know anybody. He's so into it. So we're up watching the games, and he's got his predictions, and Euro is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great tournament, so we're enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, a lot of fun. My youngest boy is like that with hockey. Just, the facts come pouring out of him. Unfortunately, that brain power is not used at school.
Yes.
That's something we're working on. Hey,
let me just say this. I think they're saving it up for what they really enjoy.
Yeah, I hope so.
Reese is the same way. He's like, I don't know. He comes home, he's got his agenda. And we're like, is that from today or last week? He's like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can relate. Hey, how the Sedins going to do in their management roles, Ray?
I think they can be phenomenal at this, and this is why. Leadership of today requires humility. It requires the ability to communicate your ideas, the ability to listen. And underneath it all, there's got to be a fire, a burn. And they have all of that. I think the greatest misnomer about Daniel and Henrik from people that don't know them or weren't around Vancouver is that they're just a couple of really nice guys that just kind of go about their business. Like, I don't think people ever quite appreciated how competitive they were, how much they wanted to win. You get it all the time, people saying, yeah, well, why didn't Daniel punch Brad Marchand back in the face? Man, it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's not what he did. Mm-hmm. What we're talking about is now in a position in management that starts at a very basic, far-flung level. So they're going to learn a whole bunch about how you build an organization, how you grow the American League team, once you draft a player, what happens to him, how do you develop him. It's really a fine term. It's really nice, draft and develop, but it doesn't mean anything until it's put into practice. And then once you develop these players and they get to your American League team or they come to the NHL, how are you coaching them? How are you coaching them up? How are you using your cap in the best way? The humility of Daniel and Henrik is that they know they don't know everything. They're not trying to take over. The real question, and time will bear this out, is what will they be allowed to grow with? What can they do? Clearly the connection to Trevor Linden is there. I don't know this, but I'll say with 100% certainty that Daniel and Henrik have talked to Trevor about his experiences.
Oh, yeah.
They've said that, Ray.
They've said that. They said that in the presser.
Yeah, and my guess is Trevor had nobody to go to.
Yeah.
Right? Daniel and Henrik have somebody to go to and say, before they took this job, and say, okay, so what's it look like? What's this? What could it be? And they can build a little bit of an internal roadmap. Look, however this is going to work, they're not going to be figureheads. They're not going to be there to stand there in a suit and have no impact. That is, I know Henrik much better than Daniel. That's not going to happen.
Ray, I believe you answered this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Because they're perceived as nice people, maybe the nicest people you'd ever want to meet, do they strike you somewhere down the line as boss material?
Yes, because Daniel was the captain, or Henrik was the captain of this team forever. You don't have to lead in the way that Donnie, you and I, and Rick, you're a little bit younger, I guess, but like the way we thought leadership was in the past, where you slam your fist on the table and you demand, and it's like, this is the way it's going to be. That's not leadership anymore. I think they're the perfect leaders at the perfect time. Leadership is about collaboration. Leadership is about drawing people in, bringing in their ideas, and if they have a good idea, running with that idea. It doesn't have to be your idea all the time. I think that's a great strength of theirs, and I think it's a great strength of any leadership. You shouldn't be the smartest guy in the room. You should hire a bunch of smart people with you so that you can help mold these great ideas into something bigger.
Ray, when I look at the Sedin twins, I always think of how good pros they were on and off the ice. Always showing up to training camp, never took a day off, every practice, every shift, 100%. And when I look at Abbotsford 2 feet away and the farm team, they could teach those young prospects in Abbotsford about being good pros on and off the ice. I think that could be one of their biggest benefits, is teaching those young prospects how to make it at the NHL level.
But I don't think it's on an individual basis. I think it is about building a directive and a way, and of course the word today is culture, that these players come into Abbotsford and they realize this is the Canuck way. Yeah. One of the great sports organizations over the last 30 years has been the St. Louis Cardinals in baseball. Yep. And they talk about the Cardinal way. Yep. Now it doesn't win every year, but there is a way that they go about their business. There's a way about the way they work with their young players from the moment they bring them into their organization. And is it perfect? Probably not, but there is a way that you do it. Right now, I can't identify what the Canuck way is, and I think that's a problem. I think they can really make that change. So to your point, Rick, it's not just player A, player B, player C. Yeah. It's about all of them. And so instead of having 3 prospects, what's wrong if you have 11 prospects that all touch this Canuck way and they become viable prospects for your team? That's where I think they can make a change with Ryan Johnson immediately, and the fact that it's here. I mean, those kids might as well have been on the moon. Yeah, they are.
And Ray, I've talked to a lot of agents who are just absolutely over the moon that the farm teams in Abbotsford, they get more visibility from the coach and GM. I want you to put your GM hat on, Ray, because a lot of people think you should be in management for the Canucks. Watching the NHL playoffs, watching the Canucks this year, how far are they? What do they need to fix this summer in your eyes, Ray?
Well, okay, so there's a couple of things there. How far from what? Like, are you meaning a Stanley Cup contender?
Just competitive. I mean, Ray, let's get back to winning. It's one playoff win in 10 years in this city.
Okay, Rick, so here's the thing, is I think what Montreal is doing is really instructive if teams pay attention. Right. And the reason I say that is they're doing it in a way that other teams are not. And so my point of that is I often hear it's a copycat league. Yeah. It's not. It shouldn't be. It should be, what do you think you can achieve with the people you have? Montreal's way was they went out and they got 4 giants on the blue line. Yeah. Like, those guys are big dudes. They fill up the ice. They've got Carey Price, of course. But then they identified the problems they had. Once they put that defense together, they don't score enough. So they went and they touched a couple of players they hoped would give them some offense. Well, they got it from Toffoli. They got it most of the year from Josh Anderson. My point is, their way isn't going to be Vancouver's way, but that's okay. The point is, don't chase something that you're not. Right. Identify your strengths, what you have. Your strengths are Thatcher Demko. You've got a potential star goaltender in Demko. You've got a potential star defenseman in Quinn Hughes. You've got a potential star forward centerman in Pettersson. Then you can start filling in around the Horvats and the Bessers and the players like that. It's not like it's devoid of talent.
Yeah.
It is, but identify what you have and what you can fill around. Look, I don't think they can be super competitive until they burn off some of these contracts.
That's it.
They cornered themselves no matter what line of they handle out of there. You can't, until they can recapture cap room, it's going to be really difficult to be as good as you can be. Look, Nicholas Waugh, who played in Vegas, I think he's been one of their best players in the series. He doesn't make $3 million. You can find players like that. You don't need a fourth-line center making $3 million.
Nope.
You don't need a fourth-line winger, a third-line winger making $3 million. If they decide to play JT Miller in the in the middle of the third line, he makes $5 million. That's because he's driving that line. He's not a bit part on that line. Mm-hmm. They have to reallocate their cap space. The problem is you've still got that cap space tied up. And until that goes, I think that's going to be the real challenge. I would say don't go out and blow your brains out this July. Again, please put your phone away. Just use the cap space you have to make short-term bets on players. And if they respond in 1 year, then you sign them again. There's nothing to say you can't do that. Why commit 2 and 3 and 4 years to players that now you're hamstrung with if it doesn't work out?
You've been saying that put your phone away thing for a long time.
Oh, man, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. As a building strategy, it doesn't work. The Canadians had, we're talking about one of the Final Four teams. The Canadians had all kinds of cap space, all kinds of money, and they knew what they wanted to achieve. Now, I don't know if they thought they were going to hit a grand slam this year like they did with Toffoli, but they spent their money on offense.
Yeah. Very quickly, Ray, Cole Caufield, what's in his future? What's in his present?
Well, I rely on the guys that have seen him the most. That's my brother-in-law, Tony Granato, who coached him at Wisconsin. He was telling me, there's something, he goes, there's elite sense and shot here. And I'm like, yeah, coaches always get a little fired. I don't care if he's my brother-in-law or not. They always get a little fired up about their guys. Well, look at what Caufield has brought to this team. And I'm going to compare him a little bit to a couple other players. Not the same style, but their energy, their enthusiasm, the way that they uplift their team. I know one's hated here. That's Brad Marchand in Boston. Another one is loved here, and that's Brendan Gallagher. Those guys bring energy to the lineup. Cole has rejuvenated, reinvigorated that team, not all of it, being a part of it, by the way he plays, by what he can do with the energy he plays. That guy is a legit 30-goal scorer. Legit. I don't see how it doesn't happen for him. People compare him to Alex DeBrincat. He's better than DeBrincat, in my mind. And I think DeBrincat's a really good player.
Yeah. We could go on and on, Ray. I know you have to get going. I'd love to talk to you when we get you back again about your former Islander and how much fun it is watching those games in Uniondale. Thanks, Ray.
I got to tell you, I will talk to you guys soon. I got to tell you, I love watching games in that old barn. I know the new one's going to be great, but man, it's that old barn. It was our barn, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Be well, guys.
Thanks,
well.
Ray. Appreciate it.